Hi, and welcome to another session of Reminiscing with History Makers. I'm joined today by Dave Saffel. Thanks you for joining us.
Thank you.
So for starters, when did you join APCO?
In 1988, the regional conference, the East Coast Regional Conference, was in Charleston, West Virginia. And my boss decided we were going to the conference, but we weren't members. So he joined myself, himself, and 3 other radio technicians, and we went to the regional conference in 1988.
Nice. And during your tenure in APCO, tell us what agencies you worked for, some of the positions you held, and some of those responsibilities.
In 1977, I started as a technician with the West Virginia State Police, and I worked there for 40 years. About 15 years into my career, the chief engineer for the department left, and they were looking for somebody, and they put us all in a room to have a meeting, and I had some strange way about taking over meetings, and so I became the chief engineer. I don't know whether that was qualification, but I ended up doing it for the next 25 years.
What initially drew you to joining APCO?
The regional conference. He decided we were going, and I said, yes, sir, and we went, and it's been a long time that I've been a member now, 36 years, I think.
Can you describe some of your APCO activities at the state and national level during your tenure?
The first several years that I was a member, I didn't really do anything. And again, I went to another meeting, and I don't know that it was one of those things where you leave to go to the restroom or something, but I walked back into the room in 1992, and they said, would you like to be the executive council person? The other one just quit. And I said, all right, I'll do it. I didn't have any idea what I was getting into or what it was going to involve, and so I became the executive council representative for West Virginia. Back in those days, back in the day, since I've been doing this a long time, we met twice a year. We had a meeting somewhere. We frequently would go to a conference, or sometimes we would go to Daytona, where of course headquarters is, and we met twice a year, and then we met at the national conference. We would have a meeting. And then eventually that meeting became a 2-day meeting because we complained we didn't get enough of the work done in the 1 day, and we did a 2-day. And then later they changed it back to a 1 day, and now I think they still meet one day, but they're a little shorter than they used to be because we would meet a lot of times well into the night.
Would you say you had a favorite activity during all of that?
Well, the executive council was very definitely, I thought, a lot of fun. And it was a lot of good work. We oversaw the association at that point in time. The executive council made decisions and voted on things. And I thought the executive council was a very good association, a group in the association back then. Later, I became a member of the board for 4 years, and that was really exciting. Would you say your APCO membership has had a direct effect on your career in public safety communications? It has, in the sense of giving me a huge amount of knowledge. When the very first year I was the executive council rep, we went to New Orleans. John Powell was the president, and John Powell had every APCO president has always had an agenda. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, an agenda from the standpoint they always came in wanting to accomplish something. John wanted to accomplish a digital standard that would be radio communications across the country for a long, long time. And that was the inception of Project 25. And the Executive Council voted to create Project 25. And so that was a very, very important thing to the association, to public safety. And I'm still building a Project 25 system in West Virginia, which we started 20 years ago, and we've been building since. But because of Project 25, we actually had something that we could build, and it's been a very, very good thing for the country, and very definitely for West Virginia. And it was probably one of the biggest things that moved my career. As far as my career in the state police, I was a working technician. I helped the other technicians once I became the engineer, and I went out, traveled the whole state. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I enjoyed my 40 years with the state police. And then I worked another part-time year, and I retired, and I've been working part-time for emergency management ever since. So I apparently can't get out of it for some reason.
What do you like most about APCO?
The networking. I absolutely loved going to meetings and talking to people that had knowledge that I did not necessarily have, or that I had knowledge that they did not necessarily have. And the networking is just a phenomenal thing that APCO members do. We talk to each other. You know, we sit and talk to each other long hours after the meetings are over, and pass information back and forth. And it's just a wonderful experience.
Is there anything that you think APCO does better than anyone else?
Well, I think we're very, very good frequency coordinators, which I'm a frequency advisor. That's the other thing I've done for 17 years now, I believe. And I think we do that well. I think our conference is probably second to none. It's huge. The vendor area is absolutely huge, so that people can come and see every facet of public safety communications. And I think APCO does an excellent job in most everything that they work toward. One thing that I'm hoping is we can bring radio back more into the association, because we've moved more toward a 911 community, and I'm hoping we can move back more toward radio, not away from 911, but so we can get back more into radio, because I think a lot of the radio has just been taken for granted, and we don't do as much with it as we used to when I first started.
So now with the advent of NG911, what does APCO need to do to stay current with those emerging technologies?
You know, I'm probably one of the worst people you could ask about NG911, because I have never, well, that's not true, because I actually built a 911 center in when it became a state police office one time. We, for a short period of time, were actually the 911 in a county in West Virginia. And I contributed to building that office, running the wires, and it was a very exciting time for doing that. But then we got out of it again, and we really didn't do 911 in the state police where I worked, because that was given to the counties in West Virginia, and they did it. So consequently, I am not as familiar with Next-Gen 911 as I should be, simply because I like to learn things and I like to know everything. But that's one thing that I have not been exposed to a lot.
Lastly, what stands out to you as a significant contribution during your time in office?
Wow. Well, my time on the board I thought was fantastic. Then we really were decision makers or decision suggestors, and I thought we did an excellent job at that. I truly enjoyed being on the board and working with the people on the board, and it was a tremendous time back then. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time in the association. I'm very honored to be a life member, the first life member from West Virginia, honestly. But I would say my time on the board was probably as exciting as any.
Oh, that's great. Well, once again, this has been Reminiscing with History Makers. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.